Welcome to The Women We Know. I'm your host, Stacey Ferguson, and this podcast is all about real conversations with women in our lives who have stories worth sharing. Not the polished highlight reels, but the real moments, the challenges, the turning points, the courage, the growth, and the wisdom that comes from living a full life. My hope is that somewhere in these conversations, you'll hear something that reminds you that you're not alone and that the women around us are far more extraordinary than we sometimes realize. So wherever you are listening from, settle in, because these are the stories of the women we know. Welcome to The Women We Know. There are some people you meet in your life that you feel like you've known forever. That's exactly what it felt like when I met today's guest. Tan and I met through mutual friends, and for the first time that we actually spent real time together was a trip from the sunny coast to the Gold Coast with those mutual friends. Sitting in the back seat with her, I don't really know how to explain it other than I'd felt like I'd known her my whole life, like we'd just been catching up for being apart for a few years, you know. She was easy, she was magnetic, she was the kind of woman that lights up a room without even trying, the life of a party, but in a way that makes everyone else feel like they belong there too. And what she probably doesn't know is that she was part of a really pivotal moment for me back then. On that trip, I'd made a promise to myself to let go, to have fun, to stop worrying what people thought of me and just be fully in it. And somehow being around Tan made me feel safe. It made me feel like that was possible. I think the thing about Tan, she doesn't just encourage people to be their self. She creates a space where they can actually be themselves. And that's exactly what we're celebrating today, because the woman she is today and the work that she does has been shaped by a journey of some deep trust, healing, and learning to come home to herself in a way that's both powerful and incredibly grounding. Today, I am so grateful to be joined by Tanya Dale, or more affectionately, Tan. Tan is a lover of life and nature. She's a self-proclaimed professional fun creator, a wife, a mama of 3 boys, a womb healer, and mental health mentor. Her work is centered around helping women reconnect with their bodies, understand their cycles, and build deeply aligned relationships with themselves and the people in their lives. And this conversation is not just about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been, underneath the noise, the pressure, and the expectations. So let's get into it. Tan, welcome to The Women We Know. I am so honored to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words.
Thanks, Stace. Wow, you just took me back to a place that it felt, I honestly feel the same as you do. I feel like I've known you forever, and I can't believe that was the trip that we first actually got to know each other, because it felt very natural just to hang out and have some fun and laughs and some amazing, deep, soulful conversations. Like, there was no fluff. It was all fun and good. So,
Yes. Yeah.
thank you for the reminder. That's pretty cool. Yes, I like the sound of another friend of mine. She coined herself as a professional fun haver, and I'm like, oh my God, I am so borrowing that one, because that I feel I embody very well.
You do.
But
You definitely do.
thank you. It is fun to have fun, but I love deep, soulful conversations, and I love being real, and I love meeting people that are also curious and open to learning about themselves, because then we get to join each other's journey and support each other along the way. And there's no one better than the other, or there's no one that knows more than the other. It's always that way. And I do love that about myself and the people that I meet and bring into my life. So I really am. I love life. I love to love. I love to give love. And I've definitely been on a healing journey and discovered a lot of amazing things that I didn't used to know about myself. And now I also love to be able to be the invitation and support and teach others that.
Yeah. And I love that. And I love this energy that you just kind of bring to any room that you're in. It's wildly magnetic, but there's this like calm about it, but then there's also this wild fun side that, you just, I don't know, you kind of just make people, or you make me feel safe. So I absolutely love that about you. And I love that you can bring fun to kind of almost any situation. And not that you're pushing anything aside or anything like that, but it's just that lightness that you bring into a room is so it's so magnetic is the only word that I can use for it. Yeah.
Thanks, Stace.
Now, before we dive into your story, Tan, I have to warm you up a little bit with a nice little icebreaker. And I think you know what's coming, but I need to preface this by saying I ask all of my guests this question. And even if I think I know what the answer is going to be, especially from you. So, Tan, if I handed you a microphone right now and dropped you into a karaoke bar, what song are you choosing?
Well, look, as you know, I'm a professional fun haver here. And so the song that resonates with me that quite often is said throughout my day is I'm So Excited by the Pointer Sisters. And it goes a little something like this. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control and I think I like it.
I love it.
So yeah, that's me over and out. I don't really proclaim myself to be a great singer, but I really love that song and it pumps me up. So yeah.
You know what? That's the beauty about karaoke is that you don't have to be a good singer. You actually, from what I've heard, people who can sing, people don't actually like hearing that at karaoke. So they like to hear they love to hear the people in there having a good time and just belting it out. So I absolutely love that. And that is such a perfect choice for you.
Yeah. Thanks, babe.
Yeah. Tan, I would like to bring our energy back to where you are right now in your life. And I asked you prior to recording this what season you're currently in. And you said that you're landing in a season of peace. And that really kind of stayed with me. And it kind of just comes back to just who you are as a person, I think. But that quietness or that calm about you. And I just want to sit here for a second, and I think that there's probably a lot of women listening that might feel so far away for, that peace or, being able to land there. And so can you tell me what that actually looks like in your real life?
Yeah, well, I would have to say it looks like a lot of different things and looks like a lot of things that I may still be learning, but I can tell you what it feels like right now. It feels as much as the work that I've done over the years, I feel like I'm 51, right? So I've got to this point where there's a lot that I have embodied and done and enjoyed and been part of. But I got to this part of my life of like, I can feel it all landing in my body. And I'm one to get very easily distracted and join that part there and do that there. And I know that I can do them all really well, but I made a conscious decision to just stop and be. And for these things that I feel are landing in my body and my being, for me to be able to really, really be truly who I am and to truly love and honor who I am, I need to be still for that. And that is a hard thing for me to do because I do like to be out in the world and I do love to have fun and I love supporting and connecting with people. But I just really felt this year was a time to just slow it right down for me and more of me. It just looks like I'm consciously, so when you ask me what it looks like, if I was to say in a sentence, I have consciously chosen to just put some things down where it felt like I was pushing or hustling or and what was happening in that world when I was and it's not to say that I'm not going to be doing my passion work, but I found myself in a place of feeling like I had to push and hustle to get myself seen and known out there. And within that, I became very exhausted because I don't want to do my passion work because I need to prove to the world who I am, or because I need money to pay the bills, or I really want to. And so in order for me to be able to do that, I need to just slow right down and be in this season and allow things to come in naturally without any push
Mm.
or hustle. And
Yeah,
I can
kind of.
focus on my family and even though my boys, they're old enough now to not need me, and I don't need to be needed by them, but I want to be here with them. I want to be
Mm.
present with my boys and enjoy the
Yeah.
parts of their life that they're growing into and watching them learn who they are through coming into young adulthood and being present with that. If I'm out in the world trying to support and do all the other things that I was trying to do, which I know that I'm really good at, then it's taken me away from my highest values, which is my family.
Mm.
Yeah, so I guess that's what
Yeah.
it looks like. It's really hard. I was a little bit nervous about answering that one because I am still discovering what that really does look like for me. It's at the very beginning. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that we've got you at that fresh beginning that like that because I think that it also gives you the opportunity to be able to reflect on that as well and be able to go, oh, what does it actually
Mm,
feel like and what does it look like? And I think that that's even in itself a really good moment. So you mentioned that you consciously choose to slow
yeah.
down. Do you think that you consciously chose to actually come here and then you choose to slow down and that sort of stuff? Or do you think that kind of life has kind of almost guided you here in its own way?
Mm. I definitely believe that life has
Mm.
guided me here. Um, and as scary as a decision as it was, because I didn't know whether I was going, like how I was going to feel not doing something or feeling
Mm.
like doing something, it's actually been really liberating to just, like, I find myself going, and get easily distracted. I could go, I could go and do some more training over there, or I could offer some more offerings over here and I'll just do it this way. And then I go, no. And I pull myself in again and
Mm.
I take a breath and I just enjoy it. And I feel like this is exactly where I need to be.
Yeah.
And nobody has told me to be like this, and I haven't watched anybody else do that. I'm not copying or trying to be like anybody else, or I'm not comparing myself to anybody else, which I have done a lot of, and I'm sure many
Mm.
of us have done a lot of in
Yeah.
the past to think, oh, that if that's working for them, that must work for me. And
Mm.
I've tried on a lot of different jumpers and a lot of different sizes, and this
Mm.
time I'm allowing one to just find its fitting on me, and it
And
feels
just
really good.
yeah, and just listen to that and be open to listening to that and not putting a label on it as right or wrong, or it just
Yeah.
is. And I'm sure that you would have had to let go of a lot of things to kind of get here, because I imagine that peace doesn't just arrive. Like you almost have to be a little bit deliberate. You kind of have to create it and
Mm.
protect it and maybe even fight for it sometimes. So tell me, like, what have you kind of had to let go of to be able to feel that peace?
I have had to let go of the belief that for me to be anybody or to feel worthy or successful, that I needed to be doing something more than what I was.
Mm,
So
yeah.
now I am the only way that I feel for me that I can find true peace and happiness and still be able to offer my beautiful healings and retreats and things like that is to just let myself be, even in the uncomfortable of it, because it is a little bit uncomfortable, because
Mm,
I'm slowing down and I'm actually getting to be with me, and I'm
yeah.
really looking at me, and I'm like, wow, like this is a nice thing, and it feels very peaceful. I think my central nervous system was fried, and I could see that I've done that many times, and I've almost magicianed myself into believing that I'd learnt what I needed to learn so that I could keep going out there. But I really, now I'm just letting myself. So every time I feel uncomfortable or feel like I need to be doing more, I take a breath, or I'll go and take a beach walk, or I've picked up a book, like I'm reading books. I haven't read books in 20 years. And I mean, not self-help books, like
Mm,
books, like romance
like novels.
novels.
Yeah.
Yeah. sassy ones too,
Yeah.
which are really cool.
I love that. And like, do you think that anything has kind of surprised you about that slowing down and taking the pressure off, or not being driven
Yeah.
by that guilt, or maybe not guilt, but the way that life used to be, and not being like, what do you think has surprised, or if there has been anything that surprised you about the slowing down?
I think the biggest surprise was how much guilt I was carrying. And I
Mm,
was feeling like I was failing at everything, failing at being a present mum or a present wife, my business, like
mm,
watching how I allowed myself. I created this, right? So I created this feeling of obligation almost.
mm,
So I think my biggest surprise that I have found in this is how guilty I was and letting that go and how good that feels, like allowing myself to not feel guilty and enjoy this because it's okay. And I am very
mm,
blessed. I have a husband that, he does fly in, fly out, and he wants to be the provider. But for
mhm,
somewhere along the way, I believed that I also had to be a provider and I also
mm,
had to contribute because I felt guilty he was going away and
yeah.
I got to stay home and be with the boys. And somewhere along the way, I lost myself in trying to be everything. So now I'm slowing that right down and not making it mean that I'm not successful, because I am successful and I am
Mm,
here and I'm in this very awesome part of my life where I might only have, I'm going to put it out there, 50 years left in my life. So the last 50
mm,
years I've done this and I've learnt this and I've been able to create this. And now I get to just be with all of those things. And then I create from a space of softness, not force or obligation or guilt or have to-ness or, yeah.
mm. It feels so magic, and I feel like there'll be some women out there that will be like craving that, and you know,
Yeah.
I think even just hearing you speak about this season, I can tell it's being lived, or it's being lived at the moment. It's not learnt stuff, or like you said before, you're not watching someone else do it and then playing the copycat or anything like that. I'd love you to go a bit deeper into that, because I know that when you reflect on your journey, it wasn't just one
Mm.
thing that brought you here to where you are today. There's some really strong themes that stand out. So tell me, what do you believe kind of shaped you, firstly?
Mm. Well, I think what first shaped me before I knew what I know now was I felt like I had the perfect job. I had my dream home. I had an amazing relationship with my husband. Um, I had what I felt looked like from the outside looking in, everything that I ever thought I wanted. And,
Mm,
but something within me was not feeling right or happy or satisfied. And within that, which I just touched on before, that guilt that I would carry,
mm,
I felt guilty even that I felt that, because there were people out there that were really what I could see a lot worse off, and I believed they were more amazing. So what I did in those moments was just like, because it was also creating or enhancing the challenges that I was having with my cycles. So
mm,
I decided that there was something that I would like to shift. And so I started doing some self-love courses of, hanging out with more women and learning about more parts of myself, and then learning more about trauma and wounding and the inner womb stuff. And they all matched up together, but it was a journey along the way. One thing led into the other and led into another. And so I've just been on, and that was like over, that's probably 12 or 13 years ago that started. And I've just been
mm,
on this ever growing journey, and it definitely has shaped me into the person that I am today. And I don't know, sometimes I do find myself, I don't know if anyone else I'm hoping other people will get this, but there are times where I go, sometimes I wish I was just still in that naiveness of the unawareness of, because then I wouldn't be feeling, because this
mhm,
work that I have done along the way has been deep. I've had to dive into
mhm,
the deep, murky waters to really become the person that I am today, and the mother that I am, and the friend that I am, and the wife that I am, and in an embodied way, not in a superficial way and not in a just because
Yeah.
way. Or, yeah. So I hope
Mm.
that answers the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, and I think you're so right about the sometimes you wish that you're back in that naive where you didn't know what you didn't know and you could just turn a blind eye to it. But now that you know what you know, you kind of can't, and you're in there.
And
And
I
I
wouldn't
think
swap it for the world, Stace. I
no.
wouldn't. I wouldn't want. I say it because there are times where it feels really hard, and
Hmm.
allowing yourself to feel all the feels and not bypass any of it. And but in that,
Yeah.
I just keep continuing to be a better version of myself, and then watching my children grow up into that because my husband is also doing the work alongside me, and
Mm.
we're finding ourselves through this, and then we're communicating differently as parents and with each other,
Mm.
and it's worth every bit of it. It's scary because some people want to stay in control, and they'll be like, oh no, I don't want to do that work because it's working for me. I already,
Yeah.
but really what you can see, their relationships are not working, and
Mm.
they've got health challenges, or so I wouldn't swap it for the world. But there are just sometimes where I wish I could turn off. Just like when I used to, a very, very, very long time ago, used to eat McDonald's until I found out
Mm.
how bad it was for you. And actually, that's when my journey really began, was when I started looking at the health side of things. And
Mm.
then there would be times I'd be like, oh, it'd be so easy just to go through the, McDonald's rather than having to think about cooking dinner. Wish I didn't
Yeah.
know what I knew, but I never went back, and I would never swap it back ever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're so right. Like sometimes I think that we talk about growth and healing like it's this beautiful, neat experience. But when you're actually in it, it can feel quite messy and confronting and sometimes even, lonely. And I feel like,
Mm,
when you were talking about how, the moment that, it kind of looked like you had everything together, the home and the family and the relationship. And, there was that guilt that something didn't feel right, but it kind of looked like you had it all together. And I know that that can be a really hard place sitting in that guilt of what I don't feel completely
mm,
happy and I thought I had everything that I wanted. There was then there's that tug of war of
yep.
I'm still not happy, but it looks like on paper or to the outside world. And then you briefly kind of mentioned that there was issues with your cycles. I know that your body was also kind of screaming for attention. You were talking about the health with McDonald's and
Mm.
your body was yelling in a really loud way, like and I know that I can relate to that. You were experiencing challenges with your cycle, and at one point you were told to consider a hysterectomy, and instead of just following that path like I ended up doing, because that felt like um, I suppose when I look at my journey, that felt like the easy way out, I guess, even though that's not. But,
Mm.
you were told to consider that hysterectomy and I'm sure so many other people like myself were told to have a hysterectomy and we just did it because we just thought, well, that's the way to fix the problem that we were dealing with. And maybe some people are battling with that right now, but you made a really powerful decision to listen to yourself and what was going on with your body. And so tell me, what was that like, listening to yourself? And you obviously started to trust your intuition and your body and yourself in a deeper way. Tell me about that moment.
Yeah, well, I think because I'd already, like, always had challenges with my cycle right from the time I started. And when I started doing the inner work, as you call it, or the transformational work, or the self-love work, and then this was still happening, I was starting to discover these parts of like how I could see, like, I'm starting to take accountability and responsibility for what's going on in my life. And it wasn't just what was on in me mentally, but physically as well. And then
Mm.
my mum actually was one of the ones that said to me, well, your grandma had one at the age of 30 and I had one at the age of 30. So clearly it's natural. You should go and get one. You've finished having kids. And I think because I already had some of this self-awareness, everything in me said no, like
Mm.
that's not the way. And I really wanted to find what it was within my physical body, but also how that matched up with the mental side of it. And then as I went along the way, that's what I discovered. I completely found a way to, or I got more awareness about how we could actually view. Like, I hated being a woman. I hated bleeding. I used to call it all sorts of horrible things and laugh about it with my friends, and stuff like the monkey's nose is bleeding, like these horrible things, the way that we spoke to ourselves or that part of ourselves. Yet it's actually an honor to be a woman, and it's a natural part of our way. So I started seeing how that all the bits were falling in of like, oh, okay, so if I've had trauma in my life or I've had emotional trauma, what have I made that mean? And how has that made me act and show up in life? And what is that doing to me in my body physically and mentally and spiritually and emotionally? And that's where I decided to take that journey. And now that's why I'm so passionate about just even, and I really want to make this really clear. I honestly, Stacey, like, there is no wrong or right in this of whether you've had a hysterectomy or not, because there is still that part of ourselves of being a woman that when you truly, truly tap into that part of ourselves, it doesn't matter whether that part of you is still there or not, because it is. It is still energetically there, whether it's physically or not. And that there is sometimes no other option. But maybe if you and I had met earlier and you had known that there was another way, like if we can be that invitation to talk to encourage women to actually have a look at what else is going on and how can they support themselves, and are they willing to, or do they just need, and because they believe that everything else is going on in their life, that is the only way, they've got to have that to, so that they can keep trudging forwards, but be conscious about it.
Yeah, and that's what I will say is that you and I did have some sessions together, and I had, I suppose, and when I don't mean to say, I just for lack of a better word, but I was so exhausted that, what I had gone through, that I kind of didn't have the fight in me anymore. And so getting the hysterectomy, even though it probably wasn't something that I wanted, but I also didn't have a big fight against it either. I was kind of like, it is what it is. And I wasn't sad about losing it because, like you said, it doesn't define my womanhood. To me, it didn't define my womanhood. So I didn't feel like, I know that a lot of women do feel like they're losing a massive part of themselves. And I get that. And that's okay. But that wasn't my journey. I was like, you know what, just get this out of me and get this, let's move on. So like you said, there's no right or wrong, and you do what's right for you, but there are options and there are things that you can do to sort of move forward. And I think that moment in your life was so huge, and the trust that you would have had to put into yourself. I know that decision didn't just change your health, it changed your whole direction of your life. So it obviously changed your work and the work that you do now and what it means to you. And I think that that's really admirable, and you didn't just move through it. You let it change you for the better, and the work that you do now is such a reflection of that. You now get to support women understanding their bodies and their cycles and their emotions, and really kind of coming home to themselves. And I would love for you to kind of, let's explore that a little bit more, because I know for me, and more than likely a lot of other women, there is a disconnect there, and we're taught to push through, and maybe that was part of my journey. Like, I was just kind of pushing through to get through over the other side, or to override what's going on without really understanding what our body's trying to communicate. So tell me what shifted for you, or what does shift for women you work with when they start seeing their cycle differently?
Well, I'll start with what shifted within me first. It was learning to not feel like I have to keep getting on with stuff and just trudge forward and be a survivor and or be in that control and I would say, like, if you look at masculine, feminine, like there's softness and then there's hardness, I guess. But there's nothing wrong with either side. But I was definitely, my pendulum was all the way over to just always doing and always giving and always like feeling like I have to be up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I dropped, I never had any understanding that my hormones were dropping or when I got spiky. And so my husband would just go the other way, and my boys would have started learning that as well. That's like, oh, it's that time of month, and you hear it. Like, maybe not so much in the younger generation now, which I think's amazing, but definitely in my generation, it was such a taboo thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so what changed is that I started allowing myself to feel when I was dropping into that. When you look at the 4 seasons, you've got your summer where you're in ovulation. It's where you're your most horniest. It's when you're most out there. It's when you want to be like, you feel like you can be superwoman, and you go out into the world, and you're out wanting to be out and doing and being, and it's the best time to be in creation. But where I was all the time trying to stay in my summer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what exhausts women, I believe, because that's what exhausted me, is trying to stay in that and then making myself wrong and then withdrawing from the world and myself, disconnecting when I couldn't be in that. So when I started understanding that, it just made so much sense. It's like, we drop out of our summer into our autumn. So what happens? Summer, that is where you're out there fun, playing in the beach. Like, that's the way I looked at it. It was, out there. And then autumn, you're starting to prep for, winter, like a bear preps to go into his cave. So it's prepping yourself to allow yourself just to drop and be okay. Don't feel like you have to be, super mama and super wife and super friend and super worker. Like, let yourself, or prep yourself in that autumn to be able to stop in your winter. So when you're on your bleed, you can be with yourself in that and not force yourself through it. And then coming out of that, that's when you feel we're so lucky to be and blessed to be women, where we get to actually just let it go, and we bleed that through. We bleed it out. Whatever we've experienced in emotion or trauma or anything in those last few months is coming out. We're releasing that through our blood. And then we're coming back into spring. So what happens in spring? It's like everything is fresh and new. And so you're ready, and you can start prepping yourself to start creating again and getting ready for summer, but don't try and stay in that. And that's what probably my biggest learning was. And that's been able to reflect in every part of my life, to the point now, like my boys, they so understand and have compassion because I let my men understand that that's where I was at, but they didn't have to run away from it. I let them look after me. I let them make a cup of tea for me, or rather than going, oh no, I can do it all, I'll just do it all. And so even I love telling this story. You may have heard it before, but with my middle child, he was only about 14 at the time, and he asked me something, and however I responded and whatever my energy was, he looked at me, he goes, oh, you don't seem your normal self, Mummy, you're all right. And I went to start thinking, oh, where am I in my cycle? And then he went, oh, you're coming into your winter, Mum. And I just went, oh, thank God you got that. Like, wow, that is so awesome. Thank you, Mum. Yeah. And that straight up, that opened up a conversation. I said, would you like to talk about what that is for me? Or, do you want to call it anything else? He goes, no, I'm good. Just let me know if you need anything. And off he trottles. Like, it's so normal.
I was going to say, you've just normalized it,
Yeah.
And how special is that? How cool is that?
Well, that plays out now. Like, I know with my eldest, and his girlfriend, like he is right there for her when those things happen. He's not afraid of it. It's not taboo. He supports her and holds her through that. And that's what we're supposed to do. But somewhere along the way, we women just thought we can do it all and we're okay. And then that left no space for men either.
Yeah. So, Tan, for someone who feels completely disconnected from their body, like, where would they even begin? What's something simple but I suppose powerful that they could start noticing or doing today that would kind of help them to understand the seasons or their cycle a
Yeah.
little bit better. Yeah.
Just get a diary and take
Mm.
like each night, just write something little down of how did you feel today? How did you react to certain things? What did you eat or what did you feel like eating?
Mm-hmm.
So that you're starting to become aware and like you do that for a full 28, 30 days. And then you'll see the next time round, you actually become more aware of where you are with your seasons, your summer and your autumn and
Mm.
your spring and your, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's, it's a really simple, soft, easy way. It doesn't take anything out of your day except for
Mm.
just being consciously aware of how were you today? And that's starting to have a conversation with yourself, really. Allow yourself
Mm.
to not just fall into bed in a heap after being with the kids all day and running around after work, and just really allow yourself just that few minutes to write down. And then you'll start just organically knowing, and you'll
Yeah.
organically start, your life will fall into those categories if you allow
Mm.
it.
And you start
So,
to be more aware of that.
yeah.
And
And
I
then,
think having that awareness then uh gives you the permission to be okay, that's where I'm at, you know? So
yes, yeah,
you can drop
totally.
into that like you mentioned earlier on, like you know, you don't have to be going because I'm here. I'm in this season at the moment and this is where I'm at in my cycle. So it's actually okay to be feeling like I just want to sit on the couch and watch a soppy movie or
Yeah.
whatever it is that you
Or
do or
even when
go.
you feel it, the way I would call it, spiky. If you felt
Yes.
spiky.
Yeah, because of the ebbs
And
and flows, right? Too of
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
like
And
that.
I
The
understand that,
spike.
like, yeah, I mean, I used to know when I was spiky, I'd feel it because I'd just be short in my answers with, especially my kids.
Yeah.
And, they don't, life doesn't change around you because of you being in it, but because you become aware and change, they shift and change with you.
Mm,
There's no expectations to, they just organically do. So by having that awareness, like I've gone from absolutely hating the fact and being, my bleed was a inconvenience, and
mm,
to the point I just fell in love with that time because it was soft, gentle time for me
mm,
to get in my PJs, put a hot water bottle on my tummy if I felt like I was a little bit crampy, and just be with myself and watch soppy movies, cry. Like it's
mm,
releasing and allowing yourself to be soft and gentle and not making yourself wrong for it was the big
mm,
game changer for me, to the point where I don't bleed anymore. I haven't bled for 2 years. I'm in full menopause.
mm-hmm.
But I found that I was really mad when I first stopped bleeding. I'm like, no, I've just fallen in love with this part. Why? But now on the other side of it, I go, oh no, I can still feel that. I still feel the ebbs and flows. I just don't have the bleed
Yeah.
to go with it, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the same of I remember back, you know, when I first got my hysterectomy, I was kind of like, oh well, you know, I don't have a cycle anymore, but I do. You know, I still
Mm-hmm.
there's still those ebbs and flows, and still being able to go, oh, this is where like I'm so creative right now, and this is where I am right now, and then, you know. And then I go into this dip, and I'm like, "What's going on?" You know, and then actually, this is where I am right now, and it just gives me that permission, or gives us that permission to just be like, yeah, okay, that's okay. And I'm going to come back around and, you know,
Mm.
it's just, yeah, to be allowed to slow down without the guilt, without the it's wrong or anything that you might be telling yourself. And yeah, I think that's really, really cool. That no matter whether you have a cycle, like a bleed or not, you
Yeah.
still do have the cycle. And
Absolutely. And that I
yeah.
meant that when I said that to you earlier. So it's like there maybe get to a point where people will, like my mum and my grandmother, they had no awareness. Their doctor said, this is what you have to do.
Mm,
And I know, like, it's a generational thing that I feel like I'm flipping here. Like, because I've looked
yeah.
into even like my grandmother's sister and her daughter, like they've both had the same thing. And I'm like, wow, this is really huge. It doesn't just go backwards, it goes sideways as well. And
Mm,
so I'm just so passionate. And all it is all I love is what I love most, I should say, is if we can get awareness out there just by preventing ourselves to get to there. And that's where the inner work comes in with this. When we start taking notice of ourselves and we start being more conscious about our decisions and we start taking responsibility for the way that we react and respond to things in life, that shifts everything. So
Yeah.
it shifts things mentally, but physically as well.
Yeah. I would love you to, I just love that. That kind of just gives me goosebumps, that whole generational change. And then, not just your lineage. Yeah, it's just incredible. I'd love you to touch on the work you do around womb healing. For someone that's hearing that for the first time, it might feel a little bit unfamiliar or even confronting. What does it actually look like, and what kind of shifts have you seen in women?
Well, I think every single woman that I have worked with has been a little afraid, really, because they're
Mm,
unsure, because there's not been
yeah.
a lot of awareness out there.
Mm-hmm.
Even some have come to me and going, "Oh, is it like, what do you do? Is it anything internal?" And I'm like, "Nope, there's something out there like that, but that ain't me. That is
Yeah.
not what I do. I don't believe we need to go there, for that's my belief. But
Mm,
what I have found is that they come away because I guess, so sorry to keep going back and forth, but what I really want to say here in this space about what I found with women is when we allow ourselves to feel safe, to trust that we can connect and we can release what our bodies have been holding on to. So we've got fascia in our body that is the jelly-like substance that is basically between the bone and the muscle. And that
mm-hmm.
fascia actually wears trauma. It wears it. And if we don't release it, because if our central nervous system is feeling, if we're feeling tired and we're fried, and then that's creating the challenges in our cycle, that's because we're holding on to this trauma that we didn't even know that we could release. And so when you do the massage, it's literally just a front and back massage where we work up and down the spine, which is your central nervous system, because every time you've had an emotional traumatic experience, your spine contracts like fight or flight. And as we get
Mm,
older, it becomes stiffer, and then that just creates all the challenges in our neck and our shoulders, and again with our cycles. So once they've had the massage, they feel so soft and yummy for the first time, maybe sometimes
mm,
forever. Some women show up on my doorstep crying and they don't even know why they're crying. It's because energetically they already know they're going to be letting go, but they're not sure who are they going to be when they let go of what they've been
mm.
holding on to that isn't serving them.
Yeah, there's that little bit of fear in there as well. Yeah.
And that is so okay. Like that's so normal. But they come away feeling so like they can breathe for the first time and
Mm,
soft and gentle. And I always encourage anyone who comes and has a session with me that they take that time, they prep their day, the rest of their day, so they can have some time to themselves just to be with that because it's new, it's foreign to some.
yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah, it starts shifting that part in themselves that they like it and it's not scary. And then they start really working on understanding their cycles and instead of beating up against it.
And everything that you talk about, it really comes back to that self-trust, doesn't it? That kind of learning to
Mm,
listen instead of to override or push it away, to honor it instead of ignore it. And I think
mm.
that's something a lot of women are craving, even if they don't quite have the words for it. I reckon that there are a lot of women out there that are craving that. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I can
Mm,
see and feel it when I'm just out and about in the world.
yeah.
Just I can see it and I can feel it um and I I know there's a lot of noise out there and it's very overwhelming and it's very scary. But I just highly encourage anyone who's listening that feels like they don't know where to start or where to look, that, you know, look up womb healing or look up
Mm,
womb massage because it's a great start. Or look up even how to work through the somatic system or how they can start releasing through the fascia in their body.
yeah.
And it, it doesn't have to be huge and it's not scary. And
Mm,
I don't know if I'm going to burst anyone's bubble here, but we never arrive at this place that some people may shout or say or try and teach that you're going to get to this amazing, but we don't get to that place. There's always more. But if you
Yes.
can start by just even writing down every single day how you're feeling, and actually maybe even have a really, a little bit of a longer linger at yourself in the mirror. Just
Yeah.
let yourself look at yourself and ask her, how is she really going? Rather than just go, nope, I'm just going to keep going and I'm going to do, and go, go, go. And then I don't have to look at myself. But then that's clearly not working for a lot of women.
Yes, clearly. Yeah. Yeah. Tan, something that really stands out in your work and the way that you speak about your work and your journey is this deep sense of, I don't know, self-respect that you have now. Like you talk about, choosing yourself and women taking a moment to look at themselves, and you talk about it in a way that's loving. And I feel like even earlier on when you were talking about taking the time to now listen to find that peace, it doesn't feel, how do I say it? It doesn't feel selfish. And I think that that's a powerful distinction, because I feel like a lot of people choosing themselves, come out with guilt. And I know we've touched on that, the guilt and the obligation and all of that sort of stuff. How did you, I suppose, maybe not learn, but lean into the difference between, is this being selfish or am I actually honoring my needs?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. It took for me to get to a place where I feel like I let myself be pushed or feeling like I was being like hustling or grinding to get because I'm so passionate about this work stage, that. And I kept trying to find ways to be able to support women in that, but not knowing how to do that without the push or the hustle. So I got to that point where I just went, maybe I just need to slow right down so I can actually trust. And I still have clients come, I still work with them. I'm just not pushing or hustling. But it was what I had to do was have a conversation with someone brought it to my attention. They said, I think you really just need to be present with your boys and stop trying to be, because I was running retreats and I was doing all the things. And when she said it, I was really offended. I said, do you think that I'm not a good mum? And she said, no, not even in the least. She said, you're a great mum, but you're trying to spread yourself way too thin.
Yeah.
And how can you bring that back? Well, my family is my biggest value. So I was actually really, really afraid of having a conversation with my husband. But it wasn't him, it was me. I was afraid of me.
Yeah.
I was afraid of what will I make it mean if I'm not doing anything right now? If I'm not actually trying. And so that was really scary, and I just had to trust. And I bump up against her a lot, where she comes up and goes, oh, you should be doing more. And then I go, hey, no, I don't need to be. It's okay. And so it's lots of beach walks right now, and I'm loving the clients that I'm working with, and I'm always open for them, but I just won't put myself in that position where I've exhausted myself and I'm trying to be the mum and the wife and the hustler as well.
Yeah. And I feel like boundaries would have to be a huge part of that too, to protect that. And do you feel like that's something that came naturally, or did you have to learn the hard way that now I need to put this boundary in place? Because I can imagine that when you start kind of showing up differently and to how you had in the past, and that hustle and all of that sort of stuff, and then and now you're at this place where you're listening and you're slowing down, I can imagine it would shift. There'd be the different relationships and the dynamics around you would change. How did you did it come naturally firstly, or did you have to learn it, like different boundaries, the hard way?
I had to learn them the hard way. I definitely had to learn it the hard way.
I think that's how a lot of boundaries come about, right?
Yes, it did. And that is how when someone first mentioned boundaries to me all those years ago, I was like, what are they? I was like, what Why? Why do I have boundaries? Doesn't everybody feel the same as me? Aren't we just all love and bees and moonbeams? Oh no,
Yeah.
we're not. We need to have boundaries. But what I realized, it wasn't boundaries for me to give others. It was boundaries for myself. It was
Mm,
boundaries for me to go to be okay to say no to someone who I love, because I love everybody. I really, truly do. If they
mm,
needed my help or if they wanted or needed something from me, but I couldn't stretch myself to say yes to them.
yeah.
That's a boundary. Like that's a fierce boundary for me now to go
Hmm.
to check in with myself first rather than just say yes to everybody and
Yes.
and then forget about myself because that's how I used to be. And I know
Mm,
that doesn't work.
yeah. I love that. Check in with yourself and give yourself that permission first to go, okay, does this align with what I'm creating here and what I want to feel and be and all of that sort of stuff, or do I need to say no to this? And I think that little moment beforehand, that giving yourself, like checking in with yourself first before jumping in
Mm.
and saying yes, is such a
Well,
powerful
it's
moment because
so powerful, Stacey. Like, and uncomfortable at the same time because I guess I don't want to put um like names or brands out there, but that people pleaser part of me
hmm
was she comes through quite strong,
yeah,
and but it was detrimental to me, my health, my family. So
yeah,
putting that boundary in of going, actually, this doesn't work for me, and be okay with how that was received. Like
mm,
even if what I'm saying no to doesn't get received very well, be okay with that
yeah,
because I'm
and that's not
choosing
a
me.
reflection. Yeah,
Yeah, not a
yeah,
reflection of me. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. It's a reflection of them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. 10, I absolutely, yeah, I think that is really powerful. Just that moment in itself, just being able to stop and before jumping in and saying yes to absolutely everything. Because I feel that in my bones, that people pleasing and, yep, I'll be there, I'll do this and I'll do that. And then it's that moment just to remind yourself, hang on, does this actually serve me as, as well? Because, yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's not selfish. That's just being really aware and that's really honoring your own needs. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Because, yeah, it's very easy to put that label out there. I'm like, oh, she's been so selfish. Why can't she? And there's
Mm,
going to be a lot of people, like if there's people out there listening now that are going, oh my gosh, I do a lot for everybody. And ask yourself the question, why do you? What
mm,
need is that filling for you? And is that serving for you and your best and highest good? And then be okay with be okay with saying no. And it's hard. It takes practice and it isn't
yeah,
selfish and that you might be labeled selfish, but that's okay.
yeah,
That's because they've got if you've been judged or labeled, then let them, just let them.
yeah. That it reminds me of a saying or a quote that I've heard is, what someone else thinks of you is none of your business. And I think that
Mm,
relates so perfectly back to that, is that it's actually, it doesn't matter what they think is, yeah, I think that's a really important reminder.
mm.
Yeah, Tan, I could talk to you all day about this stuff, and we could go on forever. And I feel like everything that you've shared today really speaks volumes of a woman who now knows herself. Uh,
Mm.
but I am so curious about the woman that you were before all of this. Do you think that there was a time that you felt misunderstood? And I think that probably comes back to that people pleasing or being,
Mm.
yeah. What do you, yeah?
Mm.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I loved this question, Dave. Like, this is why it took me so long to get back to you because it's like, I really want to think about these questions. And that question took me back to when I was in my teens.
Mm,
And we moved from one school when I was 13 to, and like I was in grade seven. I was friends with everybody. I knew everyone. I was comfortable in who I was. I knew the grade 12ers like that, and I felt comfortable. And then we moved schools to a much, much bigger school. And
mm,
and a small little country town though, where I had to travel from there to go into the bigger school. And I just remember feeling so not accepted, um, that it took me till probably halfway through grade 9 to even fit in, but I wasn't being my true self. I became or morphed into whatever I thought they needed me to be. And I feel
Mm.
like that played out a lot in my life up until I started doing the work. It just, I because I didn't, I thought that I was an unlikable person. So then I
Mm.
became somebody else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that is where I felt like I was misunderstood. But who, who's the one that misunderstood me? Well, it was me. I didn't trust
Yeah.
me to stay me being me. I dimmed my
Mm.
light and I became something of someone else. But along that way, I have made beautiful friends, amazing friends that I still have today.
Yeah.
Um, and some grew into themselves more and became more of themselves, and some didn't. And yeah, I'm just really grateful that I've been able to actually come to a place of loving that part of myself. And even when I look back at her, I don't diss her either. I just go,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I see you. I see where you were. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that so many women are navigating, that pull between wanting to be accepted but then learning to accept themselves first, and not seeking that validation outside of yourself to actually kind of
Mm,
feel grounded in who you are. I suppose, you know, I, I suppose you got to the point of doing the work and that sort of stuff that you were able to kind of now look back at that and go, oh yeah, I was actually so that wasn't me, you know. I don't
yeah.
know, like, yeah, that
Yeah. But
misunderstanding, but like you said, it was that misunderstanding of yourself.
yeah, that's right. And it was me. And can
Mm,
I accept her even though she didn't feel accepted at the time? Yes, I can. And
yeah.
then that lands in my body as a 51-year-old now going, oh wow. And you hear the saying
Yeah.
all the time, if I only knew back then what I know now.
Yeah.
You know that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's definitely a journey, and I feel so blessed to have been part of all of it, and not all of it has been easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Tan, everything that comes out of your mouth is just it's just so insightful. And I just want to I'm just like leaning in so close to like the microphone right now. I'm just like, I just feel like I'm sitting on the couch with you having a really good conversation. And I want to thank you for being so open. I feel like this conversation is going to land in so many different ways for so many different women listening. But if you could speak directly to a woman listening right now, or maybe even your younger self, what would you want her to know?
Oh, I would want her to know that she doesn't need to be anything other than who she is in that moment.
Mm.
And it's okay to be all the things, whether you are labeled things by others, just really allow yourself to be. If it's messy, if you're messy, if you're fat, if you're thin, if you're emotional, if you're whatever it is, just allow yourself to be okay in those, because all those parts are all parts of us. Every single
Yeah.
woman has every single part of that. And if
Mm.
you're okay with that, then you get to be the invitation for the other woman to be okay with that too, or the other girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that message isn't about becoming someone else or, anything like that. It's just about accepting and coming to home to who you really are, and accepting that
Mm,
in every single season or moment that you are in your life.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's just absolutely beautiful. Tan, before we wrap up, I have one last
Mhm.
question, and I ask every guest this, but who is a woman in your world who deserves to be seen, celebrated, or heard?
Oh my gosh. There are so many women. But if I was to narrow it down to one in this very moment, oh my gosh, I'm tossing up between two, and it's so Sarah King is
Mm-hmm.
this amazing woman that she's got an incredible story to share that
Yeah.
is so inspiring. And I just, I just know that she will light you and every single person up that will listen to her story. And she's already said yes to you reaching out to her.
Oh,
So
I love that.
yeah, I spoke to her and she's like, oh yeah, it'd be great. And like, I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Just you will love her. And I have to
Oh,
say that there's my other friend, Mandy Walden, who
mm,
she is, she's literally turning cancer against itself. She is
mm,
amazing. And I think that she would be amazing for you to have it to share, because I think there's a lot of people going through similar things. And
yeah.
you know, when you can actually learn to surrender and trust and look at the way that take responsibility and accountability for the way that you've lived life that may create certain things, then yeah,
Mm.
she'd be one to have. So yeah, so there you go. Sorry, I had to give you the truth. I couldn't
Uh,
help it.
I love that. I love that well, firstly, you stopped at two. So,
Yeah, I know,
you know,
right? Oh my gosh, there is so many, but already you've had so many on there. Like Sally and Renelle are definitely like two of my most faves.
yeah.
And I already know that they've referred Jade, so she would have been another one that I would have said. So, you know, you're doing pretty well here, babe. You're getting some pretty awesome chicky babes on there.
And this is the whole point of the podcast, you know, is that we get to celebrate these incredible women.
Mm,
Like, and I have met so many incredible women along the way, and then you've met so many, and you know, the next person. It's just such a cool ripple
mm,
effect that we get to do. And you know, I'm really intrigued about Sarah, and I can't wait to reach out to her, and like that just even kind of lights me up just thinking about that. And then
yeah,
Mandy, I know little bits of Mandy's story from us just having conversations, and
yeah,
I think that sounds like such an inspirational woman as well, such a strong woman. So thank you
yeah,
for
she really
sharing
is.
those. Thank you for sharing those two women with me, and stopping at two because I know you could have went on for a lot
Yeah, I could
longer.
have gone on about a lot of things, but I just want to say to you, Stace, thank you for what you're doing. This is incredible and
Oh,
so
you're welcome.
needed in the world. And I am so, so proud of you. I hope that doesn't sound condescending because I really am. I think you are doing such an amazing job. You are the perfect person to be bringing these beautiful women together and putting them
Thanks,
out there for
Tan.
everybody to hear. So thank you
Thank
for
you,
doing that.
Tan. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for being on here today. And yeah, just thank you for being you. And I know that you know through this, there are just so many cool stories getting out there, and just women
Mm,
being able to be seen and celebrated and that's just I feel like this is my whole purpose now. Like this is it's something that dropped in for me, and I'm so grateful that I have the ability to be able to do it. So you
yeah.
know, there was that moment of, you know, self belief and questioning, and you know, uh yeah, so I'm
I
grateful
don't
that
think that ever goes away, Stace. Don't think that goes away. It'll drop in every now and then.
I'm not
Just
going to
don't
end
get
up
it
at
let
that.
get too
Oh,
loud.
yes, yeah. I don't need to listen to that part. You know,
No.
I can. Yeah, yeah. So, Tan, for anyone listening today who's really felt connected to you and the work that you've done, or maybe they want to look in a little bit further into what you do, how can they find you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, look, they can just go onto my personal social page or they can go onto my business page, which I'm sure you'll
Mhm.
drop the link
Yes,
in.
I
But
will.
Tanya Dale, Soulful Living Therapies, I've got an Insta and a Facebook. I'm not on there a great deal, but there's enough on there for them to see
Mm,
and feel into me a little bit more. And, you know, just keep an eye out. I definitely am, you know, I'm taking this year off from retreats, but next year feels really good. And you know, and it'll be just like this, days like where we get to just hang out at a
mm,
nice, beautiful place and have awesome conversations. So yeah,
yeah.
but and if they want to book in a massage or if they want to book in a mentoring session, just PM me.
Yeah. Yep. 10, you're located on the sunny coast.
I
Just
am.
for people who, yep, just for people who are wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I will travel, but you know, you'll have to pay me and put me up in a nice VIP service. But you know,
Hint, hint. Anyone from Townsville want to take Tan on that? I will be in on that.
Yeah, totally. Get 10 of you together. I
Fly
told
up.
you that before, Stacey. I'll totally fly up. And I'm staying at your VIP house.
Hotel Ferguson.
Yeah, totally. I've heard how good it is.
Tan, I want to say thank you so much, not just for this conversation today, but for the way that you show up in the world. And I just think that there's something so incredibly grounding about you. And like I said at the start, magnetic. And I think that this episode is going to feel like a deep kind of exhale, for a lot of women. I am so grateful that you came on and you shared your story with us.
Oh, thanks, Stace. I loved it. I feel very honoured to be part of it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Tan. And that's a wrap on today's conversation with one of the women we know. If something in today's episode resonated with you, I'd love if you shared it with a woman in your life who might love it too. And don't forget to follow along so you never miss a conversation. And if there's a woman in your life that you know has a story worth sharing, I would love for you to nominate her at the Women We Know on Instagram or Facebook. Or shoot me an email at the.women.we.know.podcast@gmail.com. There's a dot in between each of the words, the.women.we.know.podcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening and being part of this community that celebrates her story, her resilience, her honesty, her triumph, her challenges, her life. We celebrate her.